Hey guys, MC Fix-It here. Today we're going to build a removable wheelchair ramp that is not going to be placed into the brick or into the concrete. It'll kind of be a floating wheelchair ramp, and this is what it's going to look like at the end. It has the ability to be removed. It is 36 inches long by 32 inches wide and allows a person to be able to get a wheelchair ramp all the way up and into the house pretty easily. This person did not want anything that would be bolted down because they do eventually want to sell the house. So I'm going to show you step by step all the tools and the know-how to get this project done. Here are the tools that you're going to need for this video. You are going to need one 2x6 by 12 foot. That's this over here. And then you're going to need one 8-foot 5/4 by 6 and one 12-foot 5/4 by 6 right here for the planking. You're going to need a tape measure, a pencil, a square. You may need something to draw it out with. You will need a drill with a 1/4 inch drill bit, a T25 drill as well. I like to have two since I already have them. Then you are going to need a 3-inch, 2-inch, and 2.5 inch screw. Then you will need some kind of circular saw. Links are in the description for all of these tools and all of the supplies. So the first thing you're going to want to go ahead and do is we need to measure the width of the door so we know how wide. And so this door width is going to be 36 inches. And so you know it's 36 inches from here to here. Then we're going to also measure how tall it is as well, and it's right at about 6 inches. So you got 36 by 6 is what we're looking for. And so this is going to be pretty much your framing. And just to kind of give you an idea, it looks like it's just about 1/4 inch off or so from the actual. And so we do have to keep that into fact as well, because the frame is going to be a 2x6. The decking will be 5/4 by 6 inches, and that's your decking right there, which is really about 1 inch. Almost all wood is not the right length and width. That's just what they call it, and so we will have to trim down a little bit so it is nice and flush here. You'd rather have just a little bit less than it too high and have a big bump there, so it can transition down and slowly slope down towards, so that wheelchair can go easily up on it. We've kind of determined the run at 32 inches. So what you're looking at is you have the frame there and the run down will be 32 inches. The reason we chose that is it's a good slope to allow that wheelchair to go up and down easily. This is obviously not ADA approved, but this is for somebody who needs a short-term wheelchair ramp that is not going to be bolted. We eventually do want to be able to sell the house. And so nothing is being bolted down. This is a floating wheelchair ramp. So now that we've decided kind of what we want to do with the frame, remember it's 36 by 32. We want to kind of figure out exactly what we need. Depending on what you choose on your size can really determine what that looks like. So that's 3 foot, 6 foot, 9 foot, 12 foot. So we will need one 6 by 12 or 2 by 6 by 12. So to determine the planking, we're going to go ahead and measure it out. It is 5/4 by 6, which is really about 1 inch by 5.5. And remember, we're wanting that 36 inches long, and we got to have 32 inches worth of it. So it's 32 divided by 5.5, which is 5.8. You can't buy 5.8 boards, so you round up to 6, and you want those 36 inches each. So with this, we're going to go ahead and buy a 5/4 by 6 foot by 8 and a 5/4 by 6 by 12. Our store does not carry a 6-footer, which is exactly what we would need. So we have to go ahead and round up to an 8, and that will give you each one of these boards here. So one of the things we're going to have to do on the framing board is we actually have to rip a little bit off because we want it to be exactly 5 inches because of how high up it was. So instead of cutting this multiple times here then having to try to rip it down, it's easier when it's in one big full piece to just go ahead and rip all of it at once. And so we're going to go ahead and take off that chunk right there, which will give us 5 inches left. That's the bad side. We're just going to pitch that. This is the side we want to keep. With a circular saw, you're going to go ahead and begin cutting so we have that 5-inch area like we just said. So go ahead and start cutting. And that is it right there. You just go ahead and pull that off, and the whole rest of it is cut right down to size exactly how we want it, all the way down. So go ahead and measure your header out. Remember, this is that 5 inch by 3 feet. So we're going to go ahead and mark it there. Then what you're gonna do is go ahead and cut. So you're gonna take your circular saw again. So the next thing we need to do is go ahead and mark. This is our header board, and so you're gonna go ahead and mark 18 inches is halfway, and so that gives you your X, which is where you kind of want it. Then you're gonna go 3/4 of an inch on both sides right there, and that will give you the ability for your board that will sit right there, and you can go ahead and mark that. That will just help you get nice and lined up. Then kind of the same thing for the end down here. You're gonna mark 1.5 inch. Just like that. Then you're gonna go ahead and take your square and go ahead and do it. Draw your line, and same thing with down here. 1.5 inch as well. And this just kind of saves you some time later, because then your header is all set up exactly how you need it, and you know exactly where those boards are gonna come out, and that's what you need. It's 3 at 32, so you're gonna go ahead and mark it. You go ahead and draw your line on there to make sure it's nice and straight. Then you can go ahead and take your saw. And so that is one of your runners. You're gonna need another 2 for a total of 3 runners on this. As we remember, we were wanting to have 3 runners at 32 inches, and then the one big header at 36 inches, which we already did, and we put the little marks so we know exactly where that's at. So as you can tell, this is where the header is going to sit. Remember, that's the one we put the 3 different marks on. Then your runners are going to go here. Obviously, we're going to have to cut these at an angle. You cannot leave it all 6 foot, or else it'll just be a drop off at the end. So we are going to have to figure out the exact slope on that. So you're gonna go ahead and take one of your runners, just like this, and put it just on the edge there. And this will kind of give you this invisible line of the angle of what you are wanting to actually be able to cut out. This is where you do have to use a little bit of math and be able to figure out exactly what this angle is. So by the end of the run, your board is sitting as flat on the ground as possible, so you don't have a huge lip, but there always will be some kind of a lip. Just that's the way it goes. So one of the easy ways to do this is go ahead and take from the top of your header all the way to the very top of your runner. And this will it's kind of weird, but it will give you the angle that you need to be able to have that come and give you this right here, even though it's that right there. That will help you get exactly what you need so you have the correct angle. So again, we're gonna go ahead and take it, remember, from right here all the way down to that other end, and that will give us the run that we need. This will allow the board to be cut. And one thing you will notice, there's a couple of knots over here. We're not gonna use that side, we'll actually use this side just because it's a little bit better piece of the wood. So he's gonna go ahead and cut halfway down, and then we'll flip it the other way and let him cut the other half. And that right there is it. So one of the things you may want to do is go ahead before you do anything else and make any other cuts, make sure it actually is going to fit against your header properly. And that right there looks really good. So we're going to go ahead and move it to the center one, because we may use this as our template. Then we'll go ahead and move it to the last one after we check to make sure that looks good. And there's the last one right there, and all those look good. So that's going to be our template. You want it flat all the way around and come down at pretty sharp angle at the end, so it can easily be able to get a wheelchair up there. And we're actually going to cut 2 more of these and use this as a template. We're going to go ahead and take the new piece that is the proper fit, go back to the other 2 that we cut. This will allow us to make sure we get the same thing, and so you're just going to use it as a template just like that. And the same thing, if you do have any kind of bad piece of wood, like this was not a perfect cut on this side, go ahead and throw that piece away and use the other piece. Mark the side you're not using, so you can easily be able to see which one is your scrap. And so go ahead and mark that side as well. And that will give you the 2 lines that you need right here and right here. And this is the good piece. This is the good piece. Again, the X's are the piece we're going to go ahead and scrap. So this is going to be cut the same way the first one did. You're going to go ahead and put a lot of pressure down and go ahead and cut it. And then the second one will be just like it. So after you've cut it, you got that, which is your scrap piece. It's got the X on it. This is your good new piece, that's exactly what we want. And then you're gonna go ahead and do it with the next one as well. So we got 2 of those done, got 1 left to go. So the next step is go ahead and get all of your planks. You're going to need 6 of them at 36 inches. So you can go ahead and draw your line and you'll have the ability to go ahead and cut. You'll need 6 of those. Because remember, this is what we're doing right here. If you need 6 of them, it's that 5/4 board, which is about 1 inch thick by 6 inches, and well, really 5.5. And then go ahead and pre-cut all of them. You'll do 6 of these total. And then just repeat that 5 more times. So we're gonna go ahead and test to make sure this all fits correctly against the headboard. And so each one of them has been kind of pre-marked with their pencil, and this is exactly what it should look like. And that kind of gives you the good idea that you are squared up. Now remember, we are not bolting this down. This is a very temporary thing. The homeowner did not want us to bolt it down, just wanted something to easily get a wheelchair up and down for a short period of time. And you are gonna make sure everything is squared up perfectly, so your square does really kind of help with that. And you can go ahead and kind of test all of it to make sure you are all lined up and squared up just how you should be. So the next thing you're going to do is go ahead and measure. Remember, that is 36 inches up top, and down at the bottom should also be 36 inches right on the dot. And if it's not, you do want to go ahead and pull it out or push it in to make sure it is 36 inches. So the next step is to go ahead and actually pull everything back out. Nothing is screwed into each other yet. And this will allow us to get the proper screw in from the back side. And so we will also pre-drill as well to make sure we are exactly where we want to be on each one of those. There'll be 2 screws, 2 screws, 2 screws for a total of 6. And these screws should all be 3 inches long. That way they can really get in there and grip really well. So we're gonna start on the end closest and then just kind of work our way down. And the big thing is you're gonna wanna hope to make sure it's nice and straight. And so pre-drill that in. When you're pre-drilling, make sure you do hit the center, not the end. And the reason we're pre-drilling actually is so we have the ability to not split the wood, which is really important. Go ahead and go.
Good.
Yep. Because you do not want to crack the side of your wood, so pre-drilling does help out a lot with that. It's a really simple thing to just go ahead and make sure that is exactly where you want it to be. Pre-drill the next one, same concept. And hopefully have somebody holding it like I didn't do there. You will want push pressure on both sides to make sure it does exactly what it needs to. And you will want to bury the heads just a little bit. That will help them not rub up against the brick as much.
Bottom needs to come in a little. Good.
So now that is already done, you got all of them that you need. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and put it back up to make sure it still looks good and is right where it needs to be. So we'll go ahead and scoot that, just give another double check, make sure all of it looks good and exactly what it needs to be. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and work on the planking. Remember, those were 36 inches long. That is that 5/4 board. One of the things you want to do is go ahead and put one, I know it looks weird, go ahead and put one and tack it in down here. You will want to pre-drill at least the end pieces here and here. You don't necessarily have to on the middle one because you don't want it to split. Then you will go ahead, because when you're screwing it down, you don't want them to split. Also, when we get down here, we are gonna have to go pretty steep angle, but this will just keep it at that 36 inches and keep it locked in place so all of your runners work just how they should. Okay. Once you're locked in place, you don't have to go all the way down as well. Once you're locked in place, we're going to go ahead and start with the first board all the way up at the top, and then you're going to want to make sure it is right on the edge there with just a touch of overhang if there's any. Then you go ahead and pre-drill again at least the 2 sides. And again, you're going to want to make sure you're all squared up just how you should be before you do any of your pre-drill, but the pre-drill will help it from not breaking the end of that board and splitting it. And these are 2 1/4 inch screws. Remember, the ones in the back, the 6 that we used were 3-inch screws. We may have to use a couple of smaller ones down here, but at least for the majority of it, we will use 2 1/4 inch screw to really make sure we're down and in there well. And you're just going to repeat this whole process with each and every one of them, the pre-drill, and 6 screws per planking board. Then you're also going to want to put a few in the top onto the header, and so that will help just kind of extra hold down the top and make sure you're not moving at all, because that's where a lot of your wear and tear is going to be for this wheelchair ramp, and we want to make sure that is really snug down in there. So the top board will actually have 8 total screws, but all the other boards will only have 6.
Now, do you want to tell them what it means to put the cups down by looking at the grain?
Yeah.
Use it as a reference with like a frown or a smile.
Yeah.
You want to smile.
One other quick thing, you want to make sure that you actually want it to kind of frown, the cupping to frown, so if the water does come, it does not puddle up and go down into the grain, but kind of a frown, not a smile. And so this is the direction you want this down. Remember, pre-drill, 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 pre-drill. Go ahead and run them in, or at least the 2 ends you want pre-drilled. You don't always have to do the middle ones. And then when you get down here, you are going to go ahead and remove these on both sides, because obviously we're not going to cut a board for that, but we're just going to go ahead and scoot that up.
And let's pre-fit.
And we're going to go ahead and kind of test the last board as well to kind of see where we're at. Make sure we're all fit and snug and right where we want to be.
Yeah.
So if you end up raising up the board like we did on that, you are going to go ahead and need a smaller screw. And the closer you get in, the more of an angle you're going to have to go. Because if you can see, you're going to hit the ground right there. But you may need to go ahead and put it at a little bit of an angle as well. And that will just kind of help you out a lot there. And especially for this last one, you really want to make sure you're at a really good angle. And you can hear I just started to hit the ground, but that's fine. Then you do want to make sure that it is exactly what you want. Go ahead and stand on it. Make sure it's not going to move all over the place. Now remember, we'll have just a touch of movement because it is a floating one. It is not locked in. You can always do that if you want, but that is not what they wanted here. So this is the way we're going to go ahead and do that. And that is what you need. If this was helpful, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching.